Why though? Why? I'm realizing that I can't read to save my life, so. Hello everyone, it's Paola, and today I'm going to react slash read the excerpt of Suzanne Collins' new novel. I don't even remember the name, but anyway, it is the prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy that she created years and years and years ago, and this one is set 64 years in the past. And there was a lot of speculation. We all wanted to know what this prequel was about. I think a lot of people thought this prequel was very unnecessary, but I was one of those people that was really excited. We were gonna get an expansion to the world that I fell in love with, which is a very weird way to explain my feelings, because while I do love the Hunger Games trilogy and the story and the characters, the world it's set in, it's not worth falling in love because it's a dystopian and people live horrendously there, but you get what I'm saying. So I was very excited for this prequel, and then this happened. So this is an article that was shared on Twitter by Entertainment Weekly, and it's called "Who's the Star of the Hunger Games Prequel? Read the exclusive first excerpt." And just right off the bat, we know Coriolanus Snow. Is that his name? I had no recollection of that being his first name, but anyway, Coriolanus Snow from Suzanne Collins' original Hunger Games trilogy and its film adaptations, where he was portrayed by Donald Sutherland to be a villain, a manipulative tyrant, a brutal killer. Those were Katniss Everdeen's novels, after all, and Snow's dictatorial presidency stood as the main antagonist of her resistance underdog story. But what if there was more to him than we knew? What if he could be, crazy as it may sound, a hero? What? Are you kidding me? Like, really? You just described him as a manipulative tyrant, a brutal killer. And that's not subjective. We know from the first installment of the Hunger Games trilogy that Snow is evil. He's a cold-blooded killer who gives no fucks about children, and he just never put a stop to the Hunger Games, aka where a lot of children went to die. So I have a hard time understanding how he could be a hero. Okay. My god, so many pop-up thingies and the cookies things. I hate the internet. Burn it down already. Last June, Scholastic announced that Collins had written a prequel set 64 years before the events of the Hunger Games, titled The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, out May 19. And now EW can offer eager fans a taste of what to expect with this first excerpt, and reveals Snow as our new protagonist, a teenager born to privilege but searching for something more, a far cry from the man we know he will become. Here, he's friendly, he's charming, and for now anyway, he's a hero. Why though? Why? Why do we have to see, young white boys go from hero to villain and sort of get an understanding of why they became tyrants or whatever the fuck? I can just read Hitler's biography. Jesus Christ. Okay, let's read the excerpt. Maybe it's not that bad as people sometimes say. Excerpt from The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. The grand staircase up to the academy could hold the entire student body, so it easily accommodated the stream of officials, professors, and students headed for the Reaping Day festivities. Okay. Coriolanus climbed it slowly, attempting a casual dignity in case he caught anyone's eye. People knew him, or at least they had known his parents and grandparents, and there was a certain standard expected of Snow. This year, beginning this very day, he was hoping to achieve a personal recognition as well. Mentoring in the Hunger Games was his final project before graduating from the academy in mid-summer. If he gave an impressive performance as a mentor with his outstanding academic record, Coriolanus should be awarded a monetary prize substantial enough to cover his tuition at the university. Wait, what? Well, first of all, Coriolanus, I just cannot take that name seriously. I hate it so much. I hate it. It's just too distracting. I clearly cannot fucking pronounce it. And It's too long. I understand that he's from the capital, so he has to have like this rambunctious name or whatever. But also, he was born into privilege, right? We know that from the paragraph above. That's not the excerpt. And then here he says he should be awarded a monetary prize substantial enough to cover his tuition at the university. What? What? Isn't he rich enough to have his parents pay for the university? Is he trying to play one of those I'm not that rich or I'm rich but I'm independent or whatever? This is already stressing me out. There would be 24 tributes, one boy and one girl from each of the 12 defeated districts, drawn by lottery to be thrown in an arena to fight to the death in the Hunger Games. It was all laid out in the Treaty of Treason that had ended the dark days of the district's rebellion, one of the many punishments borne by the rebels. As in the past, the tributes would be dumped into the capital arena, a now dilapidated amphitheater that had been used for sports and entertainment events before the war, along with some weapons to murder one another. Viewing was encouraged in the capital, but a lot of people avoided it. How to make it more engaging was the challenge. Oh, so that's what he's mentoring? Is that what Snow was in charge of? Is that his job? Is he the new Seneca Crane? What? I'm confused. I thought the mentors were people like Haymitch, who were in charge of training the tributes and stuff. And then Seneca Crane, his position was called like showrunner or something. Also, am I meant to think he's a hero because he's gonna make the Hunger Games more engaging? Is that am I supposed to see him as a marketing hero or whatever? Okay, let's keep reading. With this in mind, for the first time, the tributes were to be assigned mentors. 24 of the assignment best and brightest seniors had been tapped for the job. The specifics of what this entailed were still being worked out. There was talk of preparing each tribute for a personal interview, maybe some grooming for the cameras. Everyone agreed that if the Hunger Games were to continue, they needed to evolve into a more meaningful experience. And the pairing of the capital youth with the district tributes had people intrigued. What the fuck? I cannot take this seriously. So, okay, this is the first time that mentors are getting assigned to tributes. So I'm assuming he's not a Haymitch, he's more of an Effie person. Okay, this is getting cleared out as I read along. Coriolanus made his way through an entry draped in black banners, down a vaulted passage, and into cavernous Heavensby Hall, where they would watch the broadcast of the reaping ceremony. He was by no means late, but the hall was already humming with faculty and students and a number of games officials who were not required for the opening day's broadcast. Evoxes wove through the crowd with trays of posca, a concoction of watery wine laced with honey and herbs. It was an intoxicated version of the sour stuff that had sustained the capital through the war, supposedly fending off illness. Coriolanus took a goblet and swished a little of the posca around his mouth, hopefully rinsing away any trace of cabbage breath. But he only allowed himself one swallow. It was stronger than most people thought, and in the previous years he had seen upperclassmen make complete fools of themselves by imbibing too deeply. I don't know what imbibing means, but cool. The world still thought Coriolanus rich, but his only real currency was charm, which he spread liberally as he made his way through the crowd. Faces lit up as he gave friendly hellos to students and teachers alike, asking about family members, dropping compliments here and there. Your lecture on district retaliation haunts me. Love the bangs. How did your mother's back surgery go? Well, tell her she's my hero. Oh, so he's a mix of Effie and Finnick. I get it. Okay. Good enough characterization, I would think, if it weren't for the fact that he turns into a serial killer at the end of the Hunger Games trilogy. Dean Casca Highbottom. Is this name real? That's so funny. Highbottom. Dean Casca Highbottom, the man credited with the creation of the Hunger Games, was overseeing the mentor program personally. He presented himself to the students with all the verve of a sleepwalker, dreamy-eyed and, as usual, doped up on morphling. His one fine physique was shrunken and draped with sagging skin. The close-clipped precision of a recent haircut and crisp suit only threw his deterioration into relief. Due to his fame as a games inventor, he still had a tenuous hold on his position. But there were rumors that the Academy Board was losing patience. So Mr. Highbottom is like the Seneca Crane, and he's been a Seneca Crane for a really long time, aka since the games were invented, because he created them. And now people were like, we need to move on. We need to have another showrunner. Ho there, he slurred, waving a crumpled piece of paper over his head. Reading the things off now. The students hushed, trying hard to hear him above the din of the hall. Read you a name, then you who gets that one, right? So fine. District 1, boy, goes to... Dean Highbottom squinted at the paper, trying hard to focus. Glasses, he mumbled, forgot them. Everyone stared at his glasses, already perched on his nose, and waited while his fingers found them. Ah, here we go. Livia Cardew. Livia's pointed little face broke into a grin, and she punched the air in victory, shouting, "Yes!" in her shrill voice. She had always been prone to gloating, as if the plum assignment was solely a reflection on her, and not on her mother running the largest bank in the capital. I keep forgetting that the first 2, maybe 3 districts are career tributes, and so when she just said yes in her shrill voice, I thought she really wanted to die, but anyway. Coriolanus felt increasing desperation as Dean Highbottom stumbled through the list, assigning each district's boy and girl a mentor. After 10 years, a pattern had emerged. The better-fed, more capital-friendly districts of 1 and 2 produced more victors, with the fishing and farming tributes from 4 and 11 also being contenders. Coriolanus had hoped for either a 1 or a 2, but neither was assigned to him, which was made more insulting when Sejanus Plinth... What is with the suffix of anus? Like, I'm getting annoyed. She's doing it on purpose. Which was made more insulting when Sejanus Plinth scored the District 2 boy. District 4 passed without mention of his name, and his real last chance for a victor, the District 11 boy, was assigned to Clemencia Dovecote, daughter of the Energy Secretary. Unlike Livia, Clemencia received news of her good fortune with tact, pushing her sheet of raven hair over her shoulder as she studiously made note of her tribute in her binder. Clemencia Dovecote is actually a name that I can get behind. I'm not mad about it. Something was amiss when a Snow, who also happened to be one of the Academy's high honor students, had gone unrecognized. Coriolanus was beginning to think they had forgotten him. Perhaps they were giving him some special position, when, to his horror, he heard Dean Highbottom mumble, "And last but least, District 12 girl. She belongs to Coriolanus Snow." Oh snap! Oh wow! So Coriolanus Snow is now Effie and Finnick and Hamish. What? Wow! Okay, well that certainly is interesting. But I do have some predictions. And the number 1 is that he's gonna make sure that the District 12 girl wins. No, that's not true. That can't be true because Hamish was the first victor from District 12. Okay, so let's try that again. I don't know. I think it's gonna be like a star-crossed lover type of thing. He's gonna fall in love with the District 12 girl, whose name we don't know. And the District 12 girl is obviously gonna fall in love with him too. So, okay. Like, I love Suzanne Collins' writing. I love the way she is, setting this thing up. I love the little recap of what the Hunger Games is, why it was created, and now we know who created it. I like that we get to see Coriolanus Snow in high school or about to graduate high school. That sounds fun. But there are so many people that are way more interesting than Snow, especially because what happens to Snow, aka he becomes the president, and he does absolutely nothing to stop the Hunger Games from happening, which is weird because if my predictions are true and he does fall in love with District 12 girl, District 12 girl dies, spoiler alert, because we already know that Haymitch is the first victor of the District 12, and Coriolanus Snow fell in love with her, so he is probably really heartbroken about her death, and then he does absolutely nothing to stop the Hunger Games, which is weird. Wouldn't you stop the Hunger Games if your loved one died? Or would you go down the path of, if I suffered, everyone else has to suffer kind of thing? That's an interesting take. But still, we already know what President Snow ends up doing, and we already know that he dies. Also, spoiler alert. But what is happening? I'm not loving it, especially because we had more interesting characters. We had Haymitch, we had Effie, we had Finnick, we had literally every other tribute was more interesting than Snow. And honestly, I would have preferred, if we were going to go down this road of privilege and stuff, I would have enjoyed it more if it had been focused on a tribute from District 1 or 2 and sort of see a nuanced version of how things go down and how, you know, they are literally groomed to become killers. And I feel like that would have been interesting to see how those two districts, or how one of the tributes really sort of processed, or not really processed, but, you know, turned into this killing machine because they brainwashed them from a very, very young age. I'm really disappointed, especially because we already have enough narratives with white boys being at the center and with white boys who become atrocious villains. So it's odd to me that Suzanne Collins would want to justify that. Not one penny of my hard-earned money is gonna go towards someone trying to justify and humanize a tyrant. Like, I could just read Hitler's biography. Or let me know in the comments below if you are excited for the new Hunger Games prequel, if you are not excited, if you were disappointed, or if you are even more intrigued now. Let me know. I welcome all sorts of respectful discussion in the comments below. If you haven't already and you'd like to, go ahead and hit subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!